Sometimes we had so many people staying with us that every room was filled with travelers, you know. Folks living out of their suitcases and hat cases and sample cases. One time, a young man was staying with us, and he had him a guitar case.
Forrest, I told you not to bother this nice young man.
Oh, no, that's all right, ma'am. I was just showing him a thing or two on the guitar here.
All right, but your supper's ready if y'all want to eat.
Yeah, that sounds good. Thank you, ma'am. Say, man, show me that crazy little walk you just did there. Slow it down some.
You ain't nothing but a
I like that guitar. It sounded good. I started moving around to the music, swinging my hips. This one night, me and Mama was out shopping, and we walked right by Benson's Furniture and Appliance store. And guess what?
You ain't nothing but
This is not for children's eyes.
Some years later, that handsome young man who they called the King, well, he'd sung too many songs. Had himself a heart attack or something.
Wow, Maggie, I didn't know that Forrest Gump taught Elvis Presley's moves.
He sure did, Ian. Elvis Presley was born January 8th, 1935 in Mississippi. Did you know that he was dubbed the King of Rock and Roll?
I did, actually. My grandmother's a huge fan.
Oh, very interesting, Ian. Did you know that Elvis Presley transcended multiple musical genres and he ultimately became a global phenomenon?
Didn't? No.
No, you didn't? Well, as a teenager, Presley was discovered by Sam Phillips in Memphis, but then 3 years later he met his manager, Colonel Tom Parker. That's when the young star exploded onto the national stage. He was on a couple series of controversial TV shows, such as The Ed Sullivan Show. He also, I want to know if you know these songs, Ian. Do you know Jailhouse Rock?
I heard Jailhouse Rock, but not personally.
Yes. Well, Elvis Presley actually starred in that movie.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Have you ever heard of You Ain't Nothing But a Hound Dog or Heartbreak Hotel?
I have, yes.
Elvis Presley wrote those hit singles.
Cool.
It was a heartbreak to America when he was drafted into the Army in 1958 to go fight in Vietnam. But then in 1960 he made a triumphant return, and then he shifted his focus from music to movies. And then for the next 10 years he starred in about 30 films.
What happens? Never, ever take your eye off the ball.
For some reason, ping pong came very natural to me.
See, any idiot can play.
So I started playing it all the time. I played ping pong even when I didn't have anyone to play ping pong with. The hospital's people said it made me look like a duck in water, whatever that means. Even Lieutenant Dan would come and watch me play. I played ping pong. I thought I was going back to Vietnam, but instead they decided the best way for me to fight the communists was to play ping pong. So I was in the special services, traveling around the country, cheering up all them wounded veterans and showing them how to play ping pong. I was so good that some years later, the Army decided that I should be on the All-America ping pong team. We were the first Americans to visit the land of China in like a million years or something like that. Somebody said world peace was in our hands. But all I did was play ping pong.
Wow, Ian, I did not know that Forrest Gump was such a good ping pong player that he was sent up to China to play.
Neither did I, Maggie. But did you know that ping pong diplomacy was a real thing?
It was a real thing?
It was. The era of ping pong diplomacy began when the United States national ping pong team were in Nagoya, Japan to participate in the World Table Tennis Championship.
Wow.
and they got a surprise invitation from their Chinese colleagues to visit the People's Republic of China and participate in a friendly tournament against them. This is important because this is the first time that American citizens were invited to China since the communist takeover in 1949. Chinese felt that this would be a good way to open a friendly relationship with the United States. And Nixon leapt upon this wholeheartedly. A couple of weeks later, Nixon arranged a presidential visit from the United States to the People's Republic of China. And this is the first time the United States president's ever done that.
Wow.
So are you enjoying yourself in our nation's capital, young man? Yes, sir. Well, where are you staying? It's called the Hotel Ebbot. Oh, no. I know of a much nicer hotel. It's brand new, very modern. I'll have my people take care of it for you.
Security, Frank Wells.
Yeah, sir. You might want to send a maintenance man over to that office across the way. The lights are off and they must be looking for a fuse box or something because them flashlights, they're keeping me awake.
Okay, sir, I'll check it out.
Thank you.
No problem.
Good night.
Therefore, I shall resign the presidency effective at noon tomorrow. Vice President Ford will be sworn in as president at that hour in this office.
Wow, isn't it just crazy that Forrest Gump is in the Watergate Hotel?
So crazy. So, June 17th, 1972, 7 burglars were arrested attempting to get inside the office of the Democratic National Committee, the DNC, which is located in the Watergate building in Washington, D.C. Now, this was no ordinary robbery, so it's a good thing Forrest Gump caught these guys. So, the prowlers were connected to the President Richard Nixon's re-election campaign. They had been caught trying to wiretap phones and steal secret documents. Now, historians are not sure whether Nixon knew about the Watergate espionage operation before it happened, but he did take some steps to try and cover it up. He tried to raise hush money for the burglars, and he tried to get FBI agents to destroy evidence. So then August 1974, it was discovered that Richard Nixon did have a role in Watergate until the president resigned. Now his successor, General Ford, do you know General Ford?
Yeah, I do.
General Ford, he immediately pardoned Nixon for all the crimes he may or may not have committed. You know. Yeah.
Cool.
So although Nixon was never prosecuted, the Watergate scandal did change American politics forever. It led many Americans to question whether their leadership was true.
Federal troops enforcing a court order integrated the University of Alabama today. 2 Negroes were admitted, but only after Governor George Wallace had carried out his symbolic threat to stand in the schoolhouse door.
Governor Wallace, I take it from that statement that
All right.
you're going to stand in that
What's going on?
Coons are trying to get into school.
Coons? Well, raccoons trying to get on our back porch. Mama just chasing them off with a broom.
Not raccoons, you idiot, niggas. And they want to go to school with us.
With us? They do?
Shortly after Governor Wallace had carried out his promise to block the doorway, President Kennedy ordered the Secretary of Defense then to use military force. Here by videotape is the encounter by General Graham, commander of the National Guard, and Governor Wallace.
Because these National Guardsmen who are here today as federal soldiers are Alabamians, and they live within our borders, and they are our brothers. We are winning in this fight because we are awakening the American people to the dangers that we have spoken about so many times, which is so evident today, the trend toward military dictatorship in this country.
And so at day's end, the University of Alabama in Tuscaloosa had been desegregated, and students Jimmy Hood and Vivian Malone had been signed up for summer classes.
Ma'am, you dropped your book. Ma'am.
Governor Wallace did what he promised to do by being on the Tuscaloosa campus.
Wow, Ian, that was so nice of Forrest Gump to give that lady back her notebook. She dropped it.
It was. Do you understand the historical importance behind that event, Maggie?
It was historical importance.
Yeah. So that was the desegregation of the University of Alabama. So what happened was the Alabama governor, George Wallace, who was this super segregationalist, decided to blockade the University of Alabama and prevent African-American students from enrolling. The only issue at this time was that Brown v. Board of Education had already occurred. So the executive branch of the United States government stepped in and federalized the Alabama National Guard troops to stop him from blockading students from entering.
Uh-oh.
After a terse confrontation with the Alabama governor and the general of the federalized troops, Governor George Wallace decided to end his blockade and allow the 2 African-American students seen in the video to enroll.
So I never went back to work for Lieutenant Dan. Though he did take care of my Bubba Gump money, he got me invested in some kind of fruit company. And so then I got a call from him saying we don't have to worry about money no more. And I said, that's good. One less thing.
Oh, Ian, isn't it just so nice of Apple to set Forrest up for life?
It really is. But do you know how Apple was founded as a company?
I really don't.
So Apple was founded when 2 visionaries, Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak, met up at the Homebrew Computer Club. Steve Jobs is more of an entrepreneur, a college dropout, but very interested in being a salesman and is really selling his products. Steve Wozniak was more of the sort of engineer behind the two. He was the guy who really had brains in terms of the creation of their products. Together they got enough money by Steve Wozniak selling his first calculator and Jobs selling his camper. Back then, a calculator was a big deal, so it must have been a serious thing for Wozniak to sell his calculator in order to raise money for the company. Eventually, with enough ingenuity between the two, they were able to create the Apple I, the first most rudimentary-based computer that came out of the company. It was sort of a wooden frame, but it had a lot of the foundation behind what would later become the serious Apple products. The Apple II is where they really struck out. It was a plastic-based frame, but the really interesting thing about the computer was that it had a visual graphical display that could display images, specifically colored images, which was really serious for graphical designers back then, and really put forward the industry towards the digital age.
I got to
Well, Maggie, Forrest sure is lucky not to have gotten shot.
Actually, Ian Forrest did get shot in the butt.
That sucks.
It does, but he was very lucky not to have died. Because the Vietnam War cost 3 million people their lives, over half were Vietnamese citizens, and then the United States lost about 60,000 men.
Wow, that's a lot of people.
It is a lot. The Vietnam War was a long and costly war. It was the communist regime of North Vietnam and its southern allies, known as the Viet Cong, against South Vietnam and their principal ally, the United States. Do you know how the war began, Ian?
No, Maggie, I don't.
You don't? Okay, well, the war began in 1954, the rise of power of Ho Chi Minh and his communist Viet Minh Party in North Vietnam. And actually, the Vietnam War went on during the Cold War of the United States and the Soviet Union. You know, the communists and everything.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So the United States had their peak involvement in the war in 1969. It's when we had about 500,000 military personnel involved, which is a lot. Now, there was growing opposition to the war, which led to a bitter division among Americans back home. This was both before and after President Richard Nixon ordered the withdrawal of the U.S. forces in 1973. And the war ended in 1975 when the communist forces seized control of Saigon. This ended the Vietnam War. Then the country was unified as the Socialist Republic of Vietnam the following year.